Hey everyone, this is Stephen Strawn of the Cast Iron Cookware channel, where you can find information to help you better collect, restore, and use cast iron cookware. If you are a cast iron cookware enthusiast, then this is the channel for you. Right now would be a great time to go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, that way you'll be informed of new videos when they come out. Today we're going to be doing some routine maintenance on my electrolysis tank. It's been performing a little bit under par, so I think it's time to get that thing cleaned out and upgrade it just a little bit, and we're going to be doing that coming right up. Okay everyone, I had to clean my electrolysis tank out. It was pretty corroded. As I said before in some of my earlier videos, my tank is all stainless steel. I had to go in and take some SOS pads and go around the whole thing really well because it was pretty corroded. You can see I still got a little bit of leftover when I rinsed it. But I also wanted to inspect my tank and look at the weld and see if it was deteriorating any. And so far I don't see any issues where it's deteriorating yet. All the welds seem to be in really good shape. Basically there it is, my 35-gallon all stainless steel electrolysis tank. It got to where it wasn't working as good as it should, mainly because it had 1/8 of an inch of corrosion from all of the skillets and pieces of cast iron that I have cleaned with it without doing any maintenance. So I had to empty my tank out, do a thorough cleaning, and we're going to start back up again. And I thought I'd go through the process showing you how to set up an electrolysis tank. But bear in mind, my tank is all stainless steel, so it's going to be a little easier than some. Once I have a breach in the tank and it starts leaking water, I'm going to actually put it down inside a plastic container. That way I can contain the water that's in it. What I plan on doing is cutting out the bottom. That way I can lower the tank or the sides as a sacrificial anode down inside the plastic container, and then raise it out without having to empty it when I get ready to do maintenance and clean it. So I think in the long run it'll be better having a plastic container outside this and this ring down inside the plastic container as my sacrificial anode. That way I can keep going until it's totally gone. The next thing that I need to do is decide how many gallons of water my tank will hold. I measured it before and I came up with 35 gallons, but I used a stick and a whole lot of figuring to get that figured out. So we're going to do it the simple way, even though it's going to take a while. Here's 1 gallon. And we're going to keep going until it's full. 33. So it's looking like my 35-gallon estimation last time is going to be pretty close to right. 34. And 35, and we are pretty much full. We're starting to splash over a little, so let's call it quits on the water. At this point we have 35 gallons and nice and clear all the way to the bottom. Okay, for our electrolyte, we're going to be using Arm & Hammer super washing soda. It's pretty much the go-to electrolyte for most electrolysis tank people. So we're going to be using 1 cup per 5 gallons. We have 35 gallons, so we're going to be needing 7 cups. 7 times 5 is 35. So we're going to put 7 cups of super washing soda in our tank. So we're going to do it 2 cups at a time. What I want to do is, I don't want to just pour it straight in there because it's kind of hard to mix. I'm going to get about a half a gallon at a time. And you use anything for a stir stick. I'm just going to use this piece of stick. We want to make sure it's thoroughly mixed, because if we don't, it's just going to settle to the bottom. Excuse me, we're going to get another 2 cups. So we're going to do 7 cups, and at this point we have 4. The last bit didn't stir as well, so I'm going to get a little more water. And I figured this once before, that there's about 7 cups in one of these super washing soda boxes. I just roughly measured this and wound up with like 6.5 cups, but I think I got a little off measurement. So there's roughly about 7 cups in a 55 ounce box of super washing sodas, which is 3 pounds and 7 ounces. So next time I can remember, whenever I clean my tank out, 1 box will do a 35 gallon tank. So we're going to mix this up, and it wants to clump and settle, so you really need to mix it well. And after I get this mixed in this 1 gallon container to where I can pour it in, I may take a long stir stick and go ahead and stir my container, because some of it will settle to the bottom. And we don't want that electrolyte wasted. We want to make sure that we're getting all of our electricity flowing through the water, and that's what electrolyte does. Perfectly pure water will not conduct electricity. You say, well, how do you get shocked in water? Well, most water is not perfectly pure. There is some forms of chemicals in all water, drinking water, every kind of water there is, unless it's been totally purified. You want to get every little bit of this. And one good thing about super washing soda, it's not harmful to your skin. Now, it will dry your skin out a little bit, but it's not harmful to you. The worst that you're going to get is soapy hands or dried out hands. So let's get us a long stir stick and we'll stir our big pot. Okay, the only stick I could find is a piece of hardwood flooring that I use in my shop, a little bit of oak. And I think it's actually mixed really well. Now I've got my tank filled up pretty much to the brim, so you don't want to get too carried away and get too much of a vortex going, because it's going to go right over the edge. But I can tell by feeling of the bottom, there's not any granules on the bottom. I think we got it mixed in well, and I think that's because our stirring took place in the 1 gallon pitcher instead of trying to stir it in the tank. Okay, here's our battery charger that I'm using. It's a Schumacher 200 amp. It's a 200, 40, 10, and 2. So you can use it to trickle charge a battery at 2 amps. But I use it on 40 amps whenever I'm using it for electrolysis. One of the things that you'll find when you're doing electrolysis is this will happen. This will happen a lot. Basically, where it's been used so much that your lead will burn in two. Anytime you have a weak link, that's where it's going to fail. I've learned a long time ago, it's a lot easier just to go ahead and take my positive lead and connect it to my tank with a pair of vice grips, and you have great contact at that point. My negative lead has been burned away so many times to the point where I don't even worry with it anymore. I don't even use it. What I usually do, now because my negative lead has burned away so many times, I basically have quit trying to use it, because I'd repair it and it'd burn away, I'd repair it and it'd burn away again. I just use vice grips as much as I possibly can. I'll go ahead and cut myself back till I get to a fresh piece of my lead, and eventually I have to do the same thing with my jumper cable end. Now I'm using it kind of like an extension as well, but like I said, eventually I will have to cut back my jumper cable end too. And I got me a really good connection. So connect it on, just hold it over there on the side, and I'll use this here as my lead for my electrolysis. You got to remember, once you cut the end off of these things, you need to remember which one is the positive and which one is the negative, because you want to use your negative lead for your iron, and you want to use your hot lead for your sacrificial anode. So this is our negative. Black goes on black, black iron. Okay, I was able to go out today and purchase a piece of stainless steel all thread, which is what we really need. And this is a piece that is 1/4 inch. That way I'm hoping I can bend and put a little bit of an angle on it, so whenever I get ready to connect it to my skillet, it'll be in an angle, you know, straight down with a right angle at the bottom to fasten it to my skillet. Okay, I've got a replacement for my little makeshift hook. I'm still going to keep this little piece because it may come in handy. By the way, it is stainless steel and I don't want to waste it. But I did get a piece of all thread. I went to Ace Hardware and got a 3-foot section of stainless steel all thread, and I went ahead and put it together. I got 2 nuts. One on each side, plus a washer, stainless steel. And I went ahead and taped my rod all the way down to my hook. Now this is my hook for my lids. I've got a number 12, kind of give you an idea and show you what I got going, is basically you take the hook, go all the way through, and hook it on the bottom. So we have basically, you know, it's just holding by its own weight. And on the opposite side, it's just hanging there. And I've got it taped all the way down, so we're not going to be losing our electrolysis energy through the all thread, only a little bit right here at the bottom where it's connected to the lid. Whenever I get a lid, this lid here has already been re-seasoned and it looks really good. But whenever I get a lid to strip and re-season, I'll use this little piece here in that venture and we'll try it out. I'll put it on video to show you how it does. But until then, I'm going to put it aside and show you the other half. Actually, I came with a 3-foot piece of all thread and I cut it in half. Now when you cut this stuff, you have to take a file and work off the little burrs and, you know, soften it back up so that you won't have a little scratchy point. Or you want to also make sure that your nuts will go on, because if it's all burred up, your nuts won't go on there. So let me set this aside. I currently have a piece in there right now getting cleaned, and you see it's boiling pretty good. And I've already got a good bit of gunk floating around on the top. I'm going to have to skim all that off when I get this piece out. So I've got I believe I've got a little number 3 skillet in there right now being cleaned. I'm going to take that out and we'll take a look at our all thread. we'll go ahead and we got our tank cut off, and basically I used my old piece of wood. I mean, it's burned, and where I had a chain a long time ago when I first started doing this, where it's kind of burned, it looks bad, but you know, it's the right size for my tank. But I have this little Monday morning #3 Martin Stove and Range skillet in here. But basically what I've done, let me get it zoomed up, is I took my all thread. Of course, I cleaned up my end. I took a file after I cut it, and I cleaned it. Actually, I cut it with a file, and after I bent it a few times, after I got it filed down partially, then I took and cleaned off all the burrs and made it where I could screw a nut down on it. Of course, I have my nut on one side of the board with a washer, and we also have the nut on the other side of the board and a washer. That way it's nice and tight. I also took and bent an angle in my all thread. This stuff doesn't bend very easy, and you don't want to mar it up with a pair of pliers. I went ahead and put my nuts on there, and I took 2 wrenches. I basically took a wrench, and then I took another wrench to hold it with. Let me see if I can show you what I did. When I bent this piece, of course I had the nuts on there so I wouldn't be marring it up, but I took the wrenches and basically just bent it with my hand pressure. Now you could probably put it in a hole in a piece of wood and then bend it. That way you'd be less likely to mar it up. But I used the nuts. I put several nuts on there so I wouldn't be against the thread. So I was very careful there. But I think a good idea would be taking a 2x6 or so, drill you a 1/4 inch hole, stick it down in there and use that to bend it. That way you wouldn't mar it up. But either way, I went ahead and I've got a nut and a washer on the back, stainless steel of course, a nut and washer on the front. I haven't got it torqued down really tight, but I did put a little bit of pressure so it wouldn't have any movement, because I want really good contact. And that's basically what I've got. We'll stick it back in here. Okay, we've got it back in here in the tank. Basically, you want to leave plenty of all thread so you can attach your lead, and then just crank it on. Now we're losing some of our power through the all thread, but there's only a little bit under the water, but you can see it's putting out a lot of energy, and that action will just peel away all the gunk. I mean, you see it really boiling. Now, just a quick note, these little bubbles here around the top, if you spark those, they will pop. They are loud. That is hydrogen, oxygen. And all it takes is a spark, and it is a loud boom. The first time I did that, I even had the, see how you get a little bit of spark? The first time I did that, I had a lot of bubbles, and man, it blew. But there it is, really boiling, really putting out some energy, doing exactly what I need it to do. Hey guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, please remember to subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and I promise to keep them coming. Thanks again for watching the Cast Iron Cookware channel.